threat of environmental disaster and the outright annihilation of all living beings on this planet is becoming an inevitable reality. It is no exaggeration that the development of climate change over the last century has created irreversible trends in global environmental damage, the key factor being the concentration of carbon and other emissions within our atmosphere. Numerous organisations and individuals are working towards the discontinuation of global climate pollution. Non-governmental organisations in particular are significant stakeholders within the global debate over climate change. As our name suggests, we are non-profit organisations, political, analytical and administrative bodies unaffiliated with any government. We recognise the structural influence and power possessed by official state institutions and focus our environmental advocacy activity accordingly. Whether through the establishment of advisory boards within government-sponsored summits or grassroots campaigning in opposition to public or private environmental policy, our strategy for social change lies within our ability to influence larger organisations. Today we will look at Greenpeace International, Friends of the Earth, the World Wildlife Fund and Conservation International to demonstrate the role of non-governmental organisations in the climate change debate. We will outline our respective organisations' current position on climate change, the actions we have taken to combat environmental pollution, and ultimately our planned solutions for substantive change in the future.
Greenpeace International is an independent, non-profit organisation which seeks to alter global attitudes and behaviour toward protecting and preserving the environment. Since 1971, we have grown exponentially, with more than 2.8 million advocates worldwide and organisations in over 55 countries across Asia, the Pacific, Africa, Europe and the Americas. We represent ordinary citizens campaigning against environmental degradation without financial assistance from governments or corporations. We rely solely on foundation grants and individual contributions. Greenpeace is governed by a board of directors which consists of 7 members. The board appoints our executive director, supervises our budget and creates strategies for our campaigns. Greenpeace fosters numerous objectives which epitomise our organisation. Through meticulous research, lobbying, campaigning and diplomacy, we work to protect the world's oceans, forests, animals and plants, to establish a pollution-free future, to impel an energy revolution, to eradicate nuclear hazards, and to fight for sustainable agriculture. While fulfilling our objectives, we maintain our integrity by ensuring non-violent and innovative approaches to solving climate change issues. As an organisation, we believe an effective method of exposing and fighting global environmental issues is through public awareness. Our organisation is well known for using mass media, in particular photography, to expose the reality of global warming, providing powerful visualisations of the destruction caused by climate change. Furthermore, we aim to prohibit the continuation of dangerous energy systems and hold carbon polluters accountable while reducing fossil fuel industry capital. Similarly, we are fighting for the implementation of ocean sanctuaries around the globe, particularly within the North Pole, to protect marine ecosystems. Greenpeace believes that converting to 100% renewable energy is one of the most effective solutions to climate change. Currently, coal is one of the world's major electricity generators. However, it is also the most dangerous and destructive. Around the globe, the change to renewable energy has already begun, but we are continuing to fight for energy from natural resources to ensure a cleaner future. The cleanliness of our water and air and the safety of our climate is at risk due to major polluters, in particular China, who accounts for 49% of the global coal consumption and 46% of the global coal production. This is nearly equivalent to the rest of the world combined. Additionally, 40% of coal waste landfills and 80% of coal waste surface impoundments in the United States of America lack appropriate lining, causing leakages into local water resources, increasing health risks and destroying the environment further. Australia is another coal producer, with their carbon dioxide emissions almost doubling in 2016, representing a 253% increase in their export emissions since 1990. As such, climate change is one of the most severe threats to the survival of the Great Barrier Reef. With the greatest biodiversity of any World Heritage property, it is imperative that we fight global warming to save the reef. Due to increased ocean temperatures, coral bleaching is occurring at record-breaking intensities, accelerating the death of this delicate ecosystem. A 100% renewable energy future is crucial to the survival of our planet. In congruence with our energy efficiency philosophy, people must be smart and sustainable in their energy choices. Our organisation encourages investors to withdraw their contributions from nuclear, oil and coal projects to secure a clean and renewable future. The Save the Arctic campaign is another major Greenpeace project aimed toward protecting the Arctic ecosystem from climate change. We believe creating ocean sanctuaries in the North Pole, banning big oil and prohibiting fishing in Arctic waters are reasonable solutions to protecting the Arctic. We continue to lobby world leaders to end oil drilling. With less than 20% of spilled oil ever being recovered, it poses severe health and environmental risks as it exacerbates the effects of global warming and pollutes delicate ecosystems. Greenpeace has created numerous campaigns in opposition to the drilling of the Arctic. For example, within the United Kingdom and Canada, Greenpeace activists have dressed in polar bear costumes to attract public attention to the issue. Also, in 2015, we were successful in persuading Shell to abandon their oil drilling in the Arctic after more than 7 million people rallied together to make Shell accountable and expose their failings. Greenpeace is an independent organisation dedicated to protecting the global environment. We favour a non-violent yet bold approach to ending global warming and the destructive effects of climate change. It is our goal to produce 100% renewable energy and oil-free oceans to ensure a clean and stable future. The ecosystems which support and nurture us are dependent upon the climate. Therefore, we insist that you act now in order to prohibit the continuation of these risks.
The Friends of the Earth are a mass international grassroots organization that strive to combat climate change, environmental degradation, and inequity wherever it happens. The Friends of the Earth is less of a centralized international organization, structurally dissimilar to the likes of Greenpeace or the WWF. It is comprised mostly of independently formed, autonomous local activist groups in a global alliance operating independently but generally in line with the agenda set by its international elected secretariat. Following the structure of an international alliance, each national committee coordinates with its local branches, drawing funding from its self-activity and catering its campaigning to environmental issues unique to its effective area. This focus on localized grassroots activism is key to our success as a substantial pressure group towards local state and private interests. Our ultimate goal has a dual interest. The environmental destruction we witness every day has its roots not in some inherent necessity of humanity to consume recklessly, but in the very system we live under. Hence we take a firm stance against the spread of neoliberalism globally and carbon capitalism's desire for perpetuating fossil fuel production in an effort to sustain profit margins and expansion in these destructive industries. A large portion of our member groups are situated in the global south and feel the direct effects of not just international capital interests ravaging local natural resources, but the parasitical relationship foreign national or corporate investment and aid plays. Thus, our twofold interest is as follows. Stop the production of greenhouse emissions and the environmental destruction wreaked by neoliberal global capitalism, converting the entire global energy production to 100% clean renewable resources as soon as possible. Establish the right of communities to democratic self-determination and control over the energy production, ideally enacting a system of resource sharing to lift global poverty in opposition to the current trend of financial imperialism. Our plan. We have released multiple documents detailing our proposed solutions to change, particularly in our twofold effort to eliminate poverty and carbon emissions. We argue the viability of total economic conversion from fossil fuel reliance to renewables is within our grasp. The major technologies we propose include our already matured installation of wind farms, coupled with the new infrastructure developments targeting the development of both PV solar photovoltaics and CSP concentrated solar power systems. The implementation of geothermal and hydroelectric installations wherever geographically possible will also be implemented to create an energy network able to meet 90% of the world's energy requirement by 2030. The viability of this project comes from the calculated costs associated. Multiple substantive reports from the International Energy Agency have confirmed the estimated cost of a total conversion would cost little over $1 trillion each year until 2035. In the Friends of the Earth comprehensive plan to convert the global south alone, it would take only $5 trillion by 2030 to power countries classified in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. This is compared to the net worth of the wealthiest 782 billionaires, which alone would cover the costs. The International Tax Justice Network also calculates that $3.1 trillion in federal revenue is lost each year to international tax avoidance, $32 trillion since a study started in 2010. The funds for creating a sustainable and clean future exist. It is only a matter of influencing policy to redirecting this distribution of resources in the right direction. This brings us to the major hurdles facing our particular organizations, as well as other similar NGOs. The plan for comprehensive change, though completely viable in both structural implementation and funding, face the wall of international corporate bingo interests and the influence they exert over nation states. It is through this experience we ally ourselves closely with other like organizations in an effort to further our goals. We often work in collaboration with various human rights organizations and trade unions to maximize the pressure we have available on existing institutions of power.
The World Wildlife Fund was founded in 1961 in response to immediate concern for the future of the world's wildlife. Our goal was to provide funding for the protection of animals in emergency situations, long-term conservation projects, and the development of ecological science. We were founded in Switzerland, but are now an international charity that works in 100 countries around the world with close to 5 million members. With a solid foundation in science, we promote action and innovation on a local to global scale to protect and restore species and their habitats and conserve natural resources. We transform policies and markets and work with communities, businesses, and governments to ensure that nature is valued and protected and inspire people to support conservation. Each branch of our organization is led by a Chief Executive Officer with the support of a senior management team under the supervision of a board of directors. The current CEO of our main branch, located in the United States, is Carter Roberts. The direction of the company, including our projects and policy, is controlled by a board of over 20 leaders in science, conservation, and business, chosen to have a wide range of expertise. Each member is elected and serves a 3-year term and must sign a conflict of interest policy yearly. As an organization based on a foundation of ecological science, we understand the reality of and the danger posed to our world by climate change. The Arctic is warming incredibly fast, affecting weather patterns all around the world and destroying the Arctic ecosystem. The entirety of the Arctic summer sea ice is expected to melt by the middle of the century. This would cause a drastic rise in sea level, endangering shoreline communities. The ocean is rising in temperature and absorbing much of the carbon pollution we produce. This causes stronger storms, bleaches coral reefs, and threatens marine life by making the water more acidic. Changes in weather and temperature caused by climate change are affecting the life cycles of wildlife and causing them to change their habitat. In some cases, this can threaten species of extinction. Extreme weather conditions, such as floods, droughts, and storms, directly endanger humans and wildlife and destabilize the agricultural and ecological balance of the world. As an organization that aims to protect and conserve our natural world, These threats that climate change poses to wildlife, environments, and people are a great concern to us. The World Wildlife Fund believes that to address the urgent threat posed by climate change, the world must prepare to deal with its effects and work to reduce carbon dioxide pollution. We work with people all over the world, from remote communities to governments, to ensure that they understand and are making preparations for climate change. We undertake research on animal species, assessing how vulnerable they are to climate change, so we can determine what steps need to be taken to save them from extinction. We work to protect forests, as trees naturally absorb carbon dioxide, and deforestation is one of the largest sources of carbon dioxide emissions. We offer financial rewards to developing countries that implement sustainable deforestation strategies, supply funds to manage protected forests, and work to end illegal logging. To truly make a difference in the fight against climate change, drastic goals for the reduction of carbon emissions need to be set. We urge businesses, governments, and cities to work with us to create and reach science-based emission reduction targets. Companies should use their purchasing power to make sources of renewable energy, such as wind and solar, more affordable for households and businesses. Eventually, all cities should run on 100% renewable energy. As well as reducing their own emissions, first world countries should provide support and funding to developing countries to allow them to do the same. With the cooperation of world leaders and big businesses, we can work to minimize the damage that climate change will do to our world.
Hello everyone, and my name is Jessica Love, and I'm the president of a non-profit organisation called Conservation International, or CI for short. CI is one of the largest NGO organisations in the United States. Founded in 1987 by Spencer Bebbs and Peter Schlegel, the revenue of this company is worth over $20 million. These two men started this NGO for one reason, and that is to protect nature from its worst enemies, humans. For around 30 years, the CI has been protecting nature for the greater good. As we all should know by now, nature is not our enemy. It is far from that. It's our life source, the reason we're alive, the reason that we eat and breathe. So by preserving nature, we're basically saving ourselves. The CI uses science, good policy development and partnership with different companies to meet its commitments to its members. As well as helping nature, it also helps with employment. We employ over 1,000 people across 20 different partnerships in over 30 different countries, many being third world. We have scientists, policy officers and other conservation workers. However, to be successful, we rely heavily on thousands of local partnerships and most importantly, donations from people like you. Today, I'm actually going to be talking about Conservation International's new campaign, Nature is Speaking, and how this campaign is helping fight against climate change and make it in the past. Climate change is increased population, increased impact on nature and environment, increased demands for more and more industries, and use of power has led to an unacceptable level of greenhouse gases. And the CI attempts to address these issues in many ways. Firstly, it's going to be by the challenge. This program is designed to help people adapt to the effect of climate change, and that has already happened, stuff that we cannot control, e.g. rising sea levels. Secondly is the migration. It's to help further climate changes by starting to reduce emissions and enhancing carbon. So how do we work on doing all this? Firstly, we're going to be doing this by harnessing the ecosystem to help us adapt. The CI forecasts the impact of climate change on the ecosystem. Ecosystem service and communities around the world to assess the vulnerability and the rebuild resilient, including restoring wetlands to enhancing water storage and rehabilitating coastal mangroves forests to protect communities from storm surges. Financial climate solution. One of the most important means to scale up climate action is through investments. The CI engages in a broad range of activities to increase funding for nature-based solutions, such as the establishment of REDD+, as part of a key carbon market and a non-market mechanism, and serving as an employment agency of a green climate feud and a global environmental faculty. Last but not least, managing supply chains and drivers of deforestation. Commercial agriculture drivers at least 40% of tropical deforestation. To address this challenge, CI works to integrate underlying drivers of deforestation while paving the way for continued economic development. The CI partner with local producers, companies and governments to implement holistic landscape approach which balances conservation and economic activities. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and be inspired to help my NGO to achieve its goals. I strongly encourage you to go on our website and check out what we're all about and look at the climate change plan. I hope you can help and get involved and even make a small donation that will go a long way. Also, on the next page is a link to our website. Thanks for listening.
As non-governmental organisations, we are each advocating for government and individual action to limit climate change to ecologically sustainable levels. A transformational change across global environments is crucial to the survival of our planet. We believe that the world must act with urgency to combat climate change before it is too late.